The full episode is now available on Patreon and YouTube memberships. Please see the link in the description for more details.
So I wanted to get into this EW article that came out right after the final trailer because we just have to, and we get kind of an insight in what we can expect from season two. But one thing that stood out was Sarah Hess, who was a writer on season one and is coming back for season two. And yeah, like if I was at the head of HBO, I'd have an issue with her because she doesn't know when to not say certain things. And there's this been weird thing happening in the past few years with showrunners and writers giving interviews and doing damage to a show
Yeah.
before it even comes out. Perfect example was the Avatar: The Last Airbender show on Netflix. The showrunners and writers did an IGN interview, and they, for whatever reason, decided to tell fans that they were changing some of the characters. And of course, people got pissed at that, but it was unnecessary because ultimately it worked out fine. They just shouldn't have said anything and let people had seen the show first. We kind of got that here. So the article says Hess declines to comment on the reduced season 2 order from 10 episodes to 8, but notes it wasn't really our choice. So, okay, this doesn't seem as bad, but we'll get to some other things in the article. But, like, I'm thankful for her being honest here about the episodes, but also at the same time, if I was HBO, I'd be annoyed because she's letting a little too much info out. Because this clearly means that HBO, once again, is meddling with the show, just like they did with the original Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was a Dragon Demands point that, like, we're not like when we hear about the season getting cut from 10 to 8, it's not really a cut. It's really a moving, right? It's really a moving and extending to more seasons. Like, I think originally we kind of thought, okay, we're going to get this House of the Dragon. Season 1, the backstory ending with Luke dying. Season 2, the war ending with Jace dying and Rhaenyra taking King's Landing. And then season 3 would be like, you know, the remainder of the war. And you'd have it wrapped up in 3 seasons. But now it's like, wow, you're only getting to Rook's Rest and the Gullet. Yeah, and we're at the end of season 2. That's not very far, you know? So then you could say, okay, then by season 3, we're now talking about when is Rhaenyra going to take King's Landing? Like in the middle of season 3, at the beginning of season 3, like, and then that's going to go for a while. And then you can have seasons 4 and 5, you know? So
I'll be shocked if we don't get 5 seasons.
But it went from something where we were thinking 3 seasons to something that perhaps could be 5. By kind of shortening the seasons and spreading them out. So it is a lot of like moving the episodes.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I don't know if you know this, but the PDF that I have, in my PDF version of Fire and Blood, season 1 of House of the Dragon begins on page 341 and ends on page 425. So that's about 84 pages for one season.
Right. I mean, it's a little confusing because they Storm's End. There's some stuff that's out of order because Storm's End is put in after like some Riverland campaign stuff. But so it's a little hard to tell, you know, when the season ends and whatevs. But yeah, but you can go to the page count and yeah. How many pages are you thinking for season 2?
Probably more or less the same, because
Okay.
isn't the whole dance, because the dance really ultimately begins, I was just here, the dance ultimately begins on Heirs of the Dragons, A Question of Succession. So
It's so funny because there's so many places in Fire and Blood that are like, and what came next was war. And then it's like another chapter of stuff. And then they're like, next happens. What next happened was war. And you're like, wait, but you already said that war was starting. And then, you know. So it's, yeah, it's, you know, I want to say like, you know, does the dance really start when Viserys dies? Or does it start when Luke dies at Storm's End, you know? Or like, you know, what's the moment of when you think the war begins, you know? So
I'm going by what was first seen in the show, which is the Council 101, so Question of Succession. That's what I'm going by.
Oh. So, I mean, you know, yeah, I mean, Council 101, like, you could take, yeah, like what I did for overanalyzing, I went back all the way to the beginning of Heirs of the Dragon. Yeah. Um, but that gets into Council 101 and some Jaehaerys stuff. I mean, yes, the Council 101 is mentioned, but we don't go into it at all. Like it's just
What, in the show?
Yeah, in the show, it's just like one scene.
It's one scene, but I was still, it's part of House of the Dragon. So I'm doing House of the Dragon of when it starts in the books, not like the dance specifically.
Yeah.
What I said earlier about HBO coming in and meddling is I need to remind people that once again this is somewhat of a red flag because HBO loves to do this bullshit where they come in. They did it with Game of Thrones. Dave and Dan had a plan for 7 seasons, and they even tried to George Lucas it. It's like poetry it rhymes because they said their words. We're gonna do 7 seasons because we're 7 books, 7 gods, 7 kingdoms, 7 seasons for the show. HBO was like, "Can you give us more?" And they're like, "We could do a movie." And HBO laughed at them and said, "No, give us more." George had some input, and George was like, "We can do 12 seasons." Like, bro, stop. You of all people, shut the fuck up.
I like your George impression.
Thank you. I've been working on it. And HBO was like, all right, let's compromise. Give us 8. So then they had to switch stuff around, I think around season 4, and they had to like fuck with certain things going forward. It's why in season 6, most of the characters for half of the season are sitting around doing nothing. So
yeah,
if HBO is coming,
I like to say that seasons 5 and season 6 are the Groundhog's Day seasons of Game of Thrones.
Explain why again. I feel like you've already told me, but I need to remind you.
Seasons 5 and 6, there's a battle for the North.
Oh yeah,
and then there's a battle for Marine that happens in both. The High Septon stuff just keeps happening like over and over again. I'm trying to think if there's any. Oh yeah, and Arya is just at the House of Black and White, like doing the same thing again. Like both, like the seasons are the exact same plot, just like twice.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But HBO, they meddled. They came in and they meddled, and they're doing it again because, let's be honest, for 2 seconds here, they don't got a lot of stuff in the pipe. And it's why they're trying to hammer out some Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the next spinoff, and they're trying to do Aegon's Conquest, which we got news on that the showrunner for that, or the head writer for that, is talking to George actively almost every day and getting his input. And I think people are assuming, or I don't know if this is a confirmed thing, that George might be writing a couple episodes for Aegon's Conquest, or involved in the writing. So
I mean, I guess 2025. I mean, I'm just like, what else do they got? They got Euphoria 2025. I think they're actually doing Big Little Lies season 3.
They're hyper focusing, and I don't blame them for doing this. They're hyper focusing on the IPs they have now. They're working on a Harry Potter series.
Yeah.
They're doing something with Dune, which we got a trailer for. Dune Prophecy. It's coming out this fall. The Batman stuff. So I don't blame them for focusing on the IPs they do have.